Hey, hi everyone, welcome back. Thank you for being flexible with the start time. I really appreciate it, and I promise you we will still end by 1 o'clock. So thank you again for joining today. So what I'm going to do, because we are starting late, is I'm going to turn it right over to our guest speaker, and she's going to look really familiar because she was just with you last week. So last week where we talked about building resumes, this week we're going to transition a little bit and start to touch on the topic of writing cover letters. So I'm going to turn it right back over to Amanda Deacons, and she's going to take it from here.
Yeah. If you want to. Well, hi everybody again. It's good to see you. I'm like last week. I'm going to go ahead and turn the webcam off because it gets a little distracting when we're talking about content and you're seeing me flash on the screen as well. So we're going to dive right in. I'm going to try and break cover letters down as much as possible for you to make it really quick, simple, easy. I promise it's not rocket science. We're going to do just fine. All right, so here we go. So we're going to turn that off. I believe I turned the webcam off.
Yep.
All right, fantastic. So we're going to jump straight in here. So first question I have for all of you is, do you know the purpose of a cover letter? And if so, what is the purpose of a cover letter? Go ahead and write that in the chat box for me here.
So do what I did last week and just put the questions in there as well. That's okay. Oh my gosh. Sorry, I don't know what's happening. It's like just playing music without.
We've got a little bit of a technology issue on our end. For some reason, our computer has. There we go.
It's really strange, and I don't know what to do about it. Sorry.
It's perfectly fine.
That's so weird. I'm so sorry. All right, they are answering, it looks like. Yeah, you got one from Arthur.
All right, fantastic. All right, so introduce yourself and express your ambition for the job. That is a great way to put that, Arthur. I love that. Anybody else want to weigh in on that one? All right, to introduce yourself, show your interest in working for whatever company you are applying at. Fantastic. Now, key word in that one, for whatever company that you're applying at. So think specific. A cover letter is a way you can introduce yourself and bring, whoop, my little chat box moved, and bring attention towards your resume. Good. And you, fantastic. All right, everybody's on the right page when it comes to this. So cover letters, you introduce yourself to the organization, you're demonstrating your interest in that specific company. But what I want to concentrate on with the cover letter is it's specific to each organization, which means your cover letter is going to change every time you apply for a job. Now, here's the thing. Most people are like, oh, great. That means I'm going to have to write hundreds of cover letters. Yes, in fact, you might actually be writing that many. However, you're probably applying for the specific industries, for specific types of jobs, which means your cover letter and the skills that you have are going to be very similar each time you apply for the position. So I don't want you to have to think that, oh my gosh, I have to write 100 cover letters from scratch. That's not the case. It is the first contact with the employer, so it does show you and the employer your written capabilities, and that's also something that the resume can say. So if you're applying for, I just got a question, if you're applying for multiple jobs within the same company, could you use the same cover letter? No, because if you're applying for a different job, chances are the position is going to require different skills and capabilities. You want to focus on each one of those skills for each job. You also want to address it to the appropriate personnel for each position. So you might actually have to get on the company website and find out who those people are that you're addressing the letter to. And we'll talk, trust me, we'll talk a lot more about that in just a second. Because that was actually the next question that I had. So should you use the same cover letter for multiple job applications? And you're right, Faith, no. You can use a similar letter if you want, but you're right. No, you don't want to use the same one. Okay, so we're going to actually jump right over that one because we talked about that a little bit. This is a video that you're going to have access to. It starts at 1:43 seconds. I'm actually not going to play it today just because of the fact of we don't have a ton of time, but I do want you to have that resource available. This woman actually works for Harvard University, and she's got some really, really great tips and tricks when it comes through their career services office. I really like how she breaks some of these things down. She's also got some that have to do with resumes and interviewing. So if you're interested in watching any YouTube videos, this one is definitely one of them that you would probably be interested in. Okay. So the next thing that we're going to talk about are the salutations and the formatting. So if you're familiar with the format of a business letter or any type of letter at all, I want you to think 3-paragraph essay, but you're sending it to a person. So at the top, you're going to have your information, and then you're going to have the company or contacts information that you're addressing it to, the date, and then you're going to start the actual essay. So the dear, and then 3 paragraphs, and then a signature at the end. So on the left-hand side of your screen, you're going to see what information you can write in there. And at the end, I'm telling you right now, we're going to have lots of examples, so I'm going to point this stuff out to you. I just like to give you an idea of breaking down the different sections. Try to avoid using things like dear sir, or madam. One of the things that we are facing in the business industry is many individuals will have a non-gender specific name. Okay, so you don't know if the person is male, female, transgender. You don't know who you're addressing this to. So we like to use titles instead. So if you know it is gender specific and it is a woman who is not married, you can use dear Ms. last name. Maybe they're a doctor, maybe they're a manager, dear Director Williams. It's gender neutral. You don't have to worry about who it is and making that type of a mistake. I've actually done that before where I have addressed the letter to a Chris and it was a woman, not a man. And I don't know why I thought that, probably because I have, sister-in-laws and mother-in-laws who are Chris, and I think female when I think Chris instead of male. Okay, so we're gonna jump to the next area. Organizing the cover letter. Now, remember I was telling you 3-paragraph essay, 3 paragraphs. Well, it's exactly what you think it is. You've got an introduction, you've got a body, and you've got a closing paragraph. Really simple, really, really specific and easy. Okay. So the first paragraph. When you're writing an essay, the first thing that you write is an attention grabber. So we're going to go back to English class really quick. You got to get the person's attention very, very quickly. So these types of statements are going to be targeted specifically towards what can you contribute to that organization that might entice them to keep reading. It can be related to experience that you've already had in the industry. It could be that you're an upcoming professional in that industry. It could be a quote. I've actually seen people do like a mini story at the beginning to really show what your experience is, or to show your passion or influence in that area. Passion is huge. You got to get that across with using the English language. All right. Now, in this paragraph, you have 4 things that you probably want to cover. So you're going to reference your education, probably your career objectives, and the position that you're actually applying for. Right? And these things can change. So I'll show you a few examples in a second. But I want to reiterate, what's the first line of your cover letter before we move on? Go ahead and type that in in. Greeting introduction. Yep. Okay, we'll just wait a second so that everyone else can respond as well. Introducing yourself. Yep. So it looks like we got a couple of people that said the greeting and the introduction and the introduction. So we'll go ahead and move on at this point. The second paragraph, now here's the thing. I know I'm throwing slides at you right now and I'm saying, hey, this is what it should look like. I promise everything is going to come together once we start taking a look at the examples towards later on in the presentation. But I want to cover what are some of the things that you actually need to have in the paragraph, and then I'll point each of these things out as we go along. Right. So the second paragraph, we like to call it the meat and the potatoes. This is where you have to connect with the company, okay? Now, when I say connect with the company, it doesn't mean that you are reiterating everything on your resume. You want to expand on your skills. You want to expand on what you're capable of doing and use the English language to describe how you can contribute to that specific organization, right? So it might be referencing skills and characteristics. It could be talking about some of your qualities or qualifications and achievements, using measurable data. And like I said down at the bottom, please don't repeat your resume in this section, okay? This paragraph, many people will start out talking about the mission, the values, the products or services of the company, and then dive straight into collaborating how you have either done that or you're capable of doing that for the company. And I'll give you some examples. Now, the third paragraph, this we call closing. I like to call it housekeeping because, honest to goodness, your third paragraph and your 3-paragraph essay, it's really just reiterating your interest in the company. You're talking about how you would desire an interview or how you're asking for an interview. Now, it's not actually asking a question here, it's a statement, and I'll show you what that looks like. And then how to contact you. Do not ever forget to thank the reader. They literally just read a 3-paragraph essay about you, and they're about to look at your resume as well. So always end on a really good note. Sincerely, I'm going to follow up. Thank you very much. I look forward to hearing from you. Those types of phrases, you've probably heard them before. Okay. So the last question that or not the last question, but the next question I have is, what's the most important point to get across to an employer in the second paragraph? I will go back to the slide so that you can actually see it. What do you think the most important thing? Are you typing that in this paragraph? Body paragraph? Yeah, third paragraph. Or second paragraph, yes. I'm communicating with your professor so that she's writing it down and typing it so that you can see the question as well while we backed up on there. All right. Michelle, yes, your interests and your capabilities, absolutely. And Miranda, absolutely, what you can offer, so your contribution. Great answers, great responses. I like to check in with people and make sure that I'm not going too fast and that you're grasping some of the concepts. Zed, your qualifications and how they relate. Wonderful. Now, many of you, and I will admit, I am not an English major. I struggle sometimes using the proper terminology when it comes to how to describe my capabilities and relate them to an employer. This is where we start to get into some examples, and I put this first one, I'm going to point a few things out to you, okay? One thing that I will say right off the bat right here is this starts with an I, okay? I am very excited about the opportunity to become an ABC associate at XYZ company in Ann Arbor, okay? Great, so we got the point across that you're looking for the job, you're referencing the company and the location of where it's at. But maybe we could come up with something else before we say I'm very interested or excited in this particular organization. That's where above this line you would want to put the attention grabber, because you don't, if you think about how many people apply for one specific job, say a job's on Indeed.com, typically you've got about 100 people that are applying for that specific job. Now, if 100 people are applying and 100 people are submitting cover letters, that recruiter actually is looking at 100 different cover letters. when you're reading these over and over and over again, you don't want it to sound like everybody else's cover letter. You want to be unique, which is where that attention grabber right here is going to become something that's going to be of your benefit, which is going to help. Now, say for example, this company was, I think we had a culinary student or an automotive. Let's go with automotive. I think we had an automotive student in here the last time, if I remember correctly. Yeah, an auto technician. So something up here that you could say starting out might be that you are a car guru, something related to that. Jump into why. The question I usually ask students when I'm in an appointment with them when we're writing these is, why did you pick the major that you picked in the first place? Why do you want to do the job or the career that you chose? That's where we start to accumulate that information to create the sentence that begins the paragraph. Okay. The other things I had mentioned was relating your qualities and skills to the company. This one is saying, after examining the actual position, the job description, I think I'm a good fit. And then why you're a good fit. Well, maybe the job description said that you had to be efficient with recording things, detail oriented, you produce high quality work. You might want to get a little bit more specific with that as well. Sorry, I jumped to the next slide on accident. I hit the wrong button, everyone. The second paragraph, you've got to talk about, all right, what can you contribute to the company? Well, this second line right here is talking about the company's commitment to integrity, their corporate responsibility, and positive global impact, which align with maybe your cultural experience, your work experience, and a dynamic and innovative workplace. Now, this line right here, I actually pulled off as an example that came from a company's mission statement and their values. You want to use the same terminology that you find that's related to the company, because the more you can relate and use the same language, the more likely they are to actually, it positively reinforces in the background, where sometimes the recruiter doesn't even realize it's happening because you're making those associations. Another thing that you can do, I'm going to throw this in there for the interviewing, dress in the colors of the actual company's logo. Subconsciously, you're actually already showing the recruiter that you are affiliating yourself with that organization, and it's going to give a good impression. Okay. And some people will ask me, well, that sounds like you're trying too hard. No, what you're doing is you're showing them that you have researched who they are and what they're doing, and you want to become a part of that community. Okay. Third paragraph, we're going to talk about, this third paragraph is actually technically part of the second paragraph, but you can break it down. This person split it from, here's the experience I have with a company area, and then academically, I'm going to tell you what I'm capable of doing. So this is another format that you can use. All right, and they're talking about, this one is looking at administration and recording. So obviously you're going to need some technical skills with some software, effective communication skills, all right, building relationships in the workplace. And then this last paragraph, like I said, it's really just reiterating your interest. This is the thank you very much for your time, and I look forward to speaking with you in a personal interview. Now you wrap the thank you and asking for the interview all in the same line in this example. Okay. We're going to go to the second one. Remember I said that you could use a quote. This person is in the IT area. So they took a quote from Aristotle and they said, pleasure in the job puts perfection in the work. Well, it's not necessarily IT related, but it's how this individual approaches their actual work and the career, which means they're going to put their absolute best effort into what they do because they really, really love doing what they're doing. And they follow that up with, as a professional programmer and motivated student, so you can tell them you're a student, she's furthering her education in a challenging hands-on environment. Now, this person's actually applying for an internship program, which many of you might, okay? You don't have to be an expert in your field to be able to apply for a job. This individual starts to go on to, this is where I'm going to school at Washtenaw Community College. I've been exposed to multiple different programming languages. Now you notice how this person isn't talking about the specific languages, they're going rather general. That's okay, because we don't want to reiterate the resume over and over and over again. This is not where you start to list things like a shopping list, all right? Connect a little bit further. I like this paragraph down here, especially when we start to talk about, I've had the opportunity to explore my strengths, and I've learned how to be punctual, accountable, creative, and a team player, and I really enjoy solving problems. So this person actually didn't go very technical in this paragraph. They're talking about the soft skills now, because one thing employers will tell you right off the bat is they can teach you the technical side of it. What they struggle with are finding people to be able to communicate on a collaborative level, being on time, dressing professionally, knowing when to get maybe a superior involved, how to communicate and resolve conflict. Those are actually the top ones that employers will tell us that many of our students struggle with, because they've not been exposed to how to handle some of those situations. So this person is emphasizing the fact that they do know that. Okay, all right, and this down here, she's expressing the fact that she really, really wants this. I believe I can be a positive contribution towards your internship program. Okay. So we'll go to the next one here. I'm gonna see if I can make this just, there we go. I think I made it just a tad bit bigger. Let's see, yeah, I don't think it's, there we go. I wanted to make it just a little bit bigger so that everybody can see that. I tried to make it on the whole slide so that you could see the whole thing, and then I want to really get into some of the other areas in here. Okay. All right. I'm going to back out of this. Okay. This is the next one that I wanted to take a look at real quickly. Now, this one is not addressed to an actual person. This is to a hiring executive. Okay. Now, when you call a company, it's very possible that the job description, the employer website, LinkedIn, they will not tell you who the person is who's going to be interviewing you until you actually get an invitation from the interviewer. Okay. So what you have to do is you have to figure out how to get around that to address the letter to the appropriate person. In this case, this individual actually called the company and said, "Hi, my name is, I'm in the process of creating my application documentation, and I'd like to address the cover letter to the appropriate person." They were told, just address it to dear hiring executive. Do what the company tells you, but you might actually have to get on the phone and call the corporation and find out who to address it to. It not only allows you the opportunity to meet one of the HR people, they might give you an idea of what to include in there, because you can ask more information about the position that'll really help you understand what to put in your cover letter. Now, this cover letter is a little bit different. You notice that there's bullet points down here. I do not recommend putting bullet points in your cover letter unless you are trying to emphasize something very, very specific that the company may have told you to highlight. You can even turn this into a paragraph. This person decided to do a bullet point format, which is fine. It's just not something that I recommend on every single case, right? This person, I like how they started this. It's my desire to join the blank department, all right? So this particular department, you know, because they have a background in these two areas, which is HR and continuous improvement, all right? They are also talking about their leadership capabilities and giving an example of what they've done, okay? This person has a strong background in business. So say, for example, you're applying for a job that you might not have held before. So say, for your example, you're going from maybe a lower level position to a supervisor or a management type position. You have to be able to show them you have supervisory or management capabilities or qualities so that they will give you the opportunity for that particular job. Okay? Now down here, I'm going to concentrate on these bullet points here just for a second. These are very quick snippets, including exactly the precise language that you want them to see. So natural ability to conduct problem analysis and resolution. Now, this was almost copied and pasted from the job description. I tell people copy and paste it and then reword it in your own language as much as possible so you're not plagiarizing and so it doesn't look like you just copied and pasted it, but you're allowing them to see what you're capable of doing. Okay? All right. I am going to throw a question in here really quick as we go along. I'm going to back up here. Does anybody have any questions thus far about cover letter writing, about anything?
Anything.
Yeah. I threw a lot of information at you very, very, very quickly. One thing I will say is do not attempt to write a cover letter unless you have a job in mind, because it's like writing an essay without a topic. Okay. Dad, you're good? Okay. Anyone else have any questions? If you do, type the question. If you don't, just throw it in the chat box. All right, so it looks like most of you don't have any questions thus far. All right, good. Now, when you're, like I said, when you're writing your cover letter, make sure you have an actual job in mind. It's very difficult to connect with a corporation or a position when you don't know the company that you're applying to or even what the company is looking for in that particular individual. So that's why I tell people don't write a cover letter unless you have a job in mind. Okay. Cover letters, like your resume, you're looking at 1 page. If you can get it down to 2 paragraphs, get it down to 2 paragraphs. If you need 4 paragraphs, only put maybe 3 or 4 sentences in each paragraph. The reason why I tell you that is because sometimes less is more. If you can use the English language to precisely describe what you're capable of doing for that particular company in 2 paragraphs or even a paragraph, you'll probably have nailed it and you're going to get an interview. I've actually worked with some executives where their cover letter literally is a paragraph because they have learned how to describe what they're capable of doing very concisely, and then they leave it up to the reader to say, yes, I want to bring this person in further to have more discussion. Okay. Now I'm going to jump back to a couple of things just to remember, because I know I really briefly ran over them very fast. You want to include the date in your cover letter, not really resume. I go on that one. Sorry about that. So just make sure that you include the cover letter, the date on there, and then attach your resume as a PDF file. So if you are sending this electronically, you might not have it look like an actual business letter. It might look like just a formal email with your signature and attach the resume to it after that. Okay. If you need to include the cover letter as an attachment, I usually tell people to include it all in one document. So the first page of the document is your cover letter, and then the second page is your resume, all in one PDF file, so that people don't have to keep clicking on things. Labeling is very important. If you are attaching any type of a document, include your name and reference the position with the company. It's not only going to help you organize yourself, it's going to help the company organize who you are and what job you're applying for as well. If there's a reference number, include that. Style. As you can tell from most of these cover letters, I'm going to back up a couple so that you can see them. They're using all the same style. They're using all the same type of font, right? And I wanted to show you a few of them just because of the fact that you've got Libri, you've got Veranda, you've got Times New Roman. You can use different types of fonts. Just make sure that it's very crisp and clear. One thing I always tell people, like your resume, proofread it. Have someone else take a look at it. I can't tell you how many times I've read cover letters where people are missing a word in between to make it a full sentence. Like they'll miss an A because their eye just runs right over the top of it because they're thinking it and they're saying it out loud. It's not actually there. So just be careful about that. Okay. Now I know we are down to about 8 minutes before the class ends. And like I said last time, please feel free to come into our office, attempt to write a cover. So find a job, research the company, and then feel free to send it to myself or one of my colleagues via email, or you can sit down and we will go through it line by line and we'll help you use the English language to describe and hone in on what you're capable of doing. Because we want to make sure that you're using those marketability skills to sell you, because that cover letter is the first thing that they're going to read, or the cover email, as I like to call it. Okay? So anybody have any questions before I go ahead and turn it back over to your professor? I don't see anybody responding yet.
Yeah, I'm gonna send it type.
Yeah.
Questions just so we know to move on. Maybe typing up longer.
So Arthur, you're good to go. Yeah. A bit of delay on that one. No, Maria. Okay. Michelle, you're good. Okay. You are very welcome. I know it sounds very, very complicated. I'm not going to lie to you. We actually have examples in our office that we can sit down and we can help you break everything down as well. But I usually tell people, start with what you have right now, write the letter, and then we'll help you create the content after that. Okay. One thing I probably will do, because like I said, I didn't major in English. I may send you to the writing center if I see any grammatical questions because a semicolon, I'm not gonna lie to you, it still eludes me. It's just one of those things that for some reason I don't know how to use it and I use it wrong every time. So one of my goals in life is to figure out how to use a semicolon appropriately. All right, so if nobody has any questions, I'm gonna go ahead and turn it back over to your professor because I know you have a few things that you gotta wrap up with. Thank you very much, and hopefully I look forward to seeing each and every one of you in our office sometime soon. So,
Thanks for being flexible.
have a great day, everyone.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. See you later.
Bye.
Hi, everyone. I am back. I promise you we will end on time, and we will. So I just want to escape out of the PowerPoint really quickly. And I'll pull up our course page, but I'm really going to leave this up to you all and see if you have any questions on anything that's been going on. So we're getting really close to the end of the course. I got just a handful of modules left. So I want to make sure that in the cover letter portion that you all have been working on, that now after the presentation with Amanda, or even before that, that you don't have any questions. Those of you who turned in your cover letters already, I have reviewed those and given just some brief feedback. I'm not going to do a whole lot of editing to the content because that's all about you. But I did just try to point out some formatting errors or grammatical errors, spelling, things like that. So I just wanted to check in with you all and see if you have any questions, because what was due for this module is that you needed to complete the cover letter assignment and attend the online meeting. And so if you're on the call right now, you're attending the online meeting. So you can check that off your list, and all you have left to do is to get that cover letter assignment in. For module 4, which will be due, which you should also be working on, you've got job interview, which is part 1, and job interview part 2. And so if you guys are coming up against questions, because I know sometimes the way that this class is formatted, we don't have our guest speaker until the day that material is due that night. And so if you do have questions or things are coming up before the guest speaker has arrived, I have access to most of this material already from past guest speakers, and I'd be happy to share some of it with you or troubleshoot or answer questions. So I'm going to leave the chat box open for just a couple of minutes. If there are any questions, please feel free to type them in the box and ask them there. We've only got 2 more in-person meetings together, and you guys are doing great. Those of you who've continued to stay engaged and do the work and keep up, you're doing very well, and I would expect that will continue through the next 2 weeks. So keep up the good work. Stay safe out on the roads, and if there aren't any questions, then have a great rest of the day, and we will see you 1 week from now right here.